Hey everybody, welcome to episode 101 of Tactical Crouch. I'm KickedTripod, joined by Yiska and Volamel. Just us today. But thank you for all the kind words about the Christopher episode. It was a ton of fun for us, for sure. Like, just a ton of great insight from that episode. Honestly, I will tell you this. If there's an episode you don't miss of Tactical Crouch, that's top 3, if not best ever. It was one of the most insightful podcasts I think that we've done in a long time. And that's because I talked the least. So thanks for being here. Welcome to the show. Really quick, before we do get started, thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. If you want to support the show, there's a couple different ways to do it. Let's talk about the free ways first. Free ways, join us live on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at noon Pacific time at twitch.tv/KickedTripod. We're trying to get partnered on Twitch, and we're so close. We're like 6 or 7 concurrent viewers shy of getting partnered. So everybody's been amazing, kind of rallying around and helping us get really close to that. And so we really appreciate it. Second free way, besides like listening or just watching on YouTube or whatever, is to leave a 5-star iTunes review. That really helps a ton in helping the show get discovered on the iTunes platform, which informs the rest of the podcasting platforms. So we really appreciate that. Third, so ways you can support the show for not free, sub, just like Chopped Cheese did right now. We'll thank you at the end of the show. I cheated though and thanked him kind of right there because, or them right there. So thank you, Chopped Cheese. But we'll thank you at the end of the show. Go to patreon.com/tacticalcrouch. And we've got that going. I think we're going to do, right now, we're planning on doing game night next Friday directly after Spike Drop. So around 2 p.m. Pacific time. So if you want to come hang out, play some Jackbox games. With
some GeoGuessr.
GeoGuessr. All right. We'll do whatever. Anyways, if you want to come do that, we'll do that next Friday. It looks like I'll let you know next week if that changes, but right now we're looking at tentatively next Friday. Minimum W, thank you for the sub, by the way. Blah, 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 you cheated, you just got in, but I'm going to say thank you anyway. All right, that's it. We're done. We're ready to go. Let's talk about the news. And before we do, big thanks to our patron producers, Battlecrab, Pin, Lolshin, Charlie L, Audio, Compass, Porkchop, Sammy, Kasha67, Coochie Kopi, Chara, Picasso, Nathan, Your Misery, Hunter Tane, and Refined Bean. So many names. Thank you so much. Refined Bean is new.
Yeah,
They just upped their pledge to $25 this week. So they've been a long time patron.
Yep.
And like, you know what? After that Christopher episode, I'm cashing in. So appreciate you, Refined Bean. Let's talk about the news. New experimental patch. Joe, what's going on here, bud?
So we have a new experimental card, which I think has kind of just become PTR at this point. Not everything does go live. I will give Blizzard credit that, but the fear that everything that kind of gets put onto this that isn't like some sort of wacky, Hog gets fart armor or, Winston now gets a Glock, it basically just goes live. So this feels like it's just going to be live at some point. So we have Ana getting 5% or 5 less healing on her biotic rifle. Bastion's getting changed around. Junkrat got some projectile changes. Mercy now can kind of go toe to toe with Winston DPS, which I thought was kind of interesting. The Moira change, I'm still kind of on the fence on. I kind of threw some ideas at Yiska when I first saw the patch in general, and he kind of rebutted in an interesting way. So I'll do the same so we can kind of get that conversation going. And then Zen got a pretty meaty upgrade on his Discord, getting 5% damage amplification increase.
We're back.
30% damage amp is
before, right?
is pretty good. Yeah, that's the old Discord. That leads me into some of the other notes in the document. I'm swaying to a different archetype this week, and maybe for May Madness we'll have to see, but that Zen change is definitely going to help that particular composition thrive. But with Moira in general, we get some damage radius reduction on her orb, and this is all focused on Biotic Orb, which has been a big contention point, or a point of contention for the community, because it feels so random, right? The damage radius being reduced from 5 to 4, and the projectile duration reduced from 10 seconds to 7 seconds seems good. Seems okay. We're tailoring back this ability. We're removing some of the power from it. Sweet. But then they kind of shift that into the projectile speed being upped from 16 to 20. And again, they don't really give much clarification. It's just like these arbitrary numbers, but it's considerably faster. So my first kind of like knee-jerk reaction to this was that the base ability doesn't really change in terms of power, because the radius and the duration gets made up for with the speed. So just because it doesn't have the same radius, you get there quicker. You can stay within range, you can stay within the effective range more often because it's traveling faster. It's bouncing off walls faster, right? That's was my kind of like first gut reaction, is that because this is now faster, it's almost a little better. And I don't know exactly how you guys think about that.
The faster or being better?
Yeah, faster being a little bit better, like the damage radius. I also don't even think that like Biotic Orb, like while it was kind of annoying, and it is kind of annoying, I don't think it's like the reason why Moira is being played. I think there are like two better ways of thinking about this. I agree with what Platchat had put out today, and saying that her resource management could be looked at, and it's Moira's not being played because she can heal a lot and it's very simple. It's because she's very safe. Biotic Orb really doesn't do anything in those two schools of thought, which I think are probably the best ways to approach this. Taking an ability down just with some numbers, I don't think really changes my opinion much on this hero. I think she's still very, very good. This doesn't do anything for me. This Moira change really doesn't do anything. I really want to see this hero looked at in terms of her safety, and I think that's really why she's being played.
Yeah, even though one has to say the healing output is nuts, right? Like in comparison, just theoretically and in practice, like there is no healer that gets close, right?
Yeah,
and just definitely, yeah, the safeness is like a huge factor. Just maybe Shift should just be less forgiving, and especially the ability to get out of CCs with it is
it's insane.
I think it would be cool, like for instance in World of Warcraft, the way stuff would work is like you could vanish, and if you were within a couple of frames of the crowd control ability hitting you, then it would eat the crowd control ability and it wouldn't kick you out of vanish. So if there was like a little bit of a like you see the flashbang coming, and you then hit shift in that moment, not after the fact, but before, anticipating, then yeah, I think that would make it more skillful, but also would help to be like just as safe for top players, let's say, in top positions. Is some kind of a similar interaction that you have with trance and crowd control, or like big damage abilities or whatever, right? Sure. Like where you use, or EMP, I guess. Yeah, but in general, yeah, that's certainly one thing. I also don't know if necessarily every hero needs to mechanically like hardcore aim, which is like an argument that's always brought up.
Sure.
That her like tracking is very forgiving.
I mean, not every hero needs to aim. I think that kind of leads more into a discussion of like what the game is trying to be. Like if we're going into like a more FPS, if that's the direction we want to go, then of course, then
Moira is the reason
Moira
why
needs to be
Yiska can
changed.
play on NA. We'll just say that.
True.
Not wrong. Yeah?
It's not. I know it's not wrong. Like you
Yeah.
can play Winston, you can play Mercy, you can play Moira.
Another
You
point
can't
that
play Winston anymore.
Well, I mean, to be fair, yeah, fair enough. The tickle,
yeah, it's
tickle gun.
with a character that has so much impact. I definitely think that like increasing the skill floor would be where I would go. And I think you can kind of have both worlds into Yiska's, taking kind of Yiska's idea and modifying it a little bit. I think what I would do is, and I think like the frame discussion is kind of interesting, but I think it's difficult to explain. I think a better way of just tying it to something would be to tie it to her healing resource. So if you want to fade, not only do you get punished with a cooldown, but it also eats into your resource. Like it costs so much resource. So you actually have to manage that. It's more of a choice. It still gives you the strength of the character, but you don't just get to fade off of everything. You have to be punished more. Maybe you still have to reduce how much resource she gets from doing damage. That definitely could be looked at, but Biotic Orb feels more like lip service and community kind of quelling rather than like trying to fix the hero. Like again, I think Biotic Orb is definitely an annoyance. It can be very annoying to just randomly die to an orb kind of just bouncing around. Like I get that, but this really doesn't do much for me. A lot of these don't really like sway me either way. Like I think Mercy being able to like maintain damage per second with Winston that's a nice like break point that we've met. Like, but are we really going to be swaying the needle with frag launcher projectile changes and velocity with Junkrat? I don't know.
This is what I was worried about from the experimental card. Originally, the experimental card was kind of positioned as this way to like kind of try some paradigm shifting changes to the game that they want to see, and unfortunately, and I think we were critical of this during the show, and I think a lot of other community members were. This is just PTR, right? This is just and it
can
PTR.
be true, right?
And that's fine, but just call it PTR.
Yeah, I think so. If you like conceptually look at it, I think the likelihood of people taking experimental card stuff more seriously because it's on the live game client than on the PTR client, and just the volume of the games will give you better data necessarily.
And I don't think anybody hated that idea, right? It was more of the worry that if this is just new PTR and we know how PTR went, then why are you trying to paint it as, well, this is just experimental, not everything's going to get put in, guys? But we know that that's not true. Yeah,
I mean that's definitely this trial and error thing. It's the messaging not happening to that point. Like,
yes, I want more. Like, give me bigger changes.
That's the only thing I'm saying is like I would like to see number one. I would not mind a PTR card in clients. Because it's clear that they can do that. So, whatever. Like, don't make PTR a thing at all. Experimental, make for some really large paradigm shifting changes, because the game is not in a state where we are confident it doesn't need those yet. It's kind of why it was positioned as being a thing. And then, sure, put smaller incremental changes on the PTR, or go experimental PTR to live, or go experimental and then take whatever you have from that, go to a week and a half of PCR, and then don't have an experimental mode there, and then go. Like, whatever. There's so many different ways to do it. I'm a little disappointed that these end up just being kind of some like number tweaks. And to be fair, they're as far as number tweaks go, they're on the larger side. A few of them are, but and there's like, quite a few of them, what? Right?
Like what? What's big? Other than, I think that orb, the Discord's like, that's a nice return, but it's return to something we already had though.
Right. I mean, Mercy is Kadusha's staff, like 50 to 55 is.
It meets an interesting, like I said, it meets an interesting breakpoint with Winston.
And you're
DPS,
also you're also at a point where you're like, you're trying to balance all these, they're changing 7 heroes incrementally. versus so like each individual change isn't large, and I'm definitely not advocating that it is, but 7 individual incremental changes can have a large impact. And so like I get that. I'm just a little bit underwhelmed.
It's experimental. Go wild. Give me some crazy stuff. It's like if we're gonna focus on the numbers, no, they said they're gonna bring interesting changes, which is fine. Like I understand the design, putting design time into something that is probably gonna get scrapped anyways, like fart armor with Roadhog. I just think that's just like the funniest example that we have. That's fine. I get that. That's gonna take some time to like at least get working at a base level, right? But even with like the numerical changes that, really don't impact much, give me some bigger like deltas in these numbers. Don't just do 5 here, 4 there, 6 here, 10 here. Like give me some big percentage increases. Give me like more of a projectile speed. It's experimental. If it's really not, if this is a tool that really isn't supposed to be just copied to live at some point, change some stuff around. Like really experiment with how these abilities would work if you did have 20% extra movement speed on frag launcher. Would that really break Junkrat? I don't know. Let's try it out for a week. That's what experimental card, at least what in my mind, maybe I'm, reading into it too much, but that's where I'm like, okay, if we're just going to do numerical changes and, designing these fun and, different hero interactions actually take time, that's fine. Give me more numbers. Give me bigger deltas between the number that you start with and the number that you end up with. I think that would be interesting and a little bit more fun. And you might actually learn something from it. You might actually, take something away from, a ridiculously fast frag launcher on Junkrat that really doesn't matter. So it's like, okay, well, if we increase the projectile speed to 100, then he's still not being played. So why is that? So let's figure out, you get something from that, I think.
Yeah, I don't think we're at the point where of tweaking small numbers is what Overwatch needs right now. We'll see. I don't know. We probably shouldn't spend too much time on this. New experimental patch is live. It is a thing. Some heroes are seeing changes, and overall it's pretty underwhelming. Not saying that none of these are impactful in some way or another, but they aren't paradigm shifting in the way that we understand, I think, how any of the heroes work. And I'm not asking for us to like think of Moira in a whole new way, but for me, I'm like, if I have to bust out an Excel spreadsheet and like, put 4 different variables in here and start tweaking them and changing them, like that wasn't the change I feel like we were promised with experimental card. And those don't feel like experimental. Those just feel like balance tweaks. And like, I don't know, like that's just kind of where I am.
Yeah, that's where we're at, Chad. It's not, I don't want experimental card to be patch notes. I want it to be experimental. So if I was to change this, like if you put me at the in charge of experimental cards, I would have a reason for making something broken to see if it actually changes something. Because I could probably make something broken that nobody would still play. And there's a reason for that. It's because the character just doesn't do like what you want it to. The character doesn't do anything better than the next character, right? So then you learn something from that. If that makes sense. I know it's kind of convoluted.
I think what you want is something like the tank change, right? Like the 1-2-2.
Sure. Yeah. Stuff like that.
3-2-1 or whatever. Yeah.
I mean, you can do that even in like the I think you can do that in workshop. So it's not like something that is going to take a ton of time, but even just like a nerfing alt charge across the field again. Like, what does that game look like? What does that Overwatch look like if you just nerf alts again? I don't know. Let's figure it out. Let's experiment. That's what I'm looking for rather than, self-repair, the resource drain rate is increased by 20%. Okay, cool.
Yep.
Is anybody going to play Bastion off that? Probably not.
Yep. Not complaining about any changes, but the problem is, I think the problem with PTR is that they had a really difficult issue getting people to play, right? That was a big part of why experimental happened. And
totally.
So you make experimental happen, and then like you reduce the barrier of having to switch clients to play PTR now at this point. But man, like, what are the chances that you go into experimental mode and be like, I want to see how Moira's orb feels, like, and that's one of the bigger changes on this one. Yeah. Like, I'm not going in and being Like, I want to see how Mercy's staff feels, even though I guess that was another one of the bigger ones too. I think we're on the same page here. It's changing. It's different. It's a thing. Better than no changes. I'm not complaining that we're getting changes. I don't even want to complain about like the changes being made. I just like want to see more experimental stuff.
Sure. And I got to say, I'm actually a pretty big fan of that specific implementation, just because like if you look at the quality of, or you want multiplicative systems or that scale exponentially with like what you get out of them, right? Like theoretically, the amount of work you have put in workshop, as soon as one game mode pops off very, very hard, and it becomes like, your auto chess. That's already, whatever you put in, you already made your investment resources back manifold, right?
Yeah.
On top of like what we talked about in terms of the practice environments that Overwatch League teams are creating for themselves, which is pretty cool. Workshop 100%ly, like even if that took a lot of time, that's the thing that will pay for itself eventually down the line. Definitely. I feel like experimental is that as well. I just feel that maybe we should have had like two different things, experimental card, and then maybe something like something with a different frame where we say, okay, this is testing. You give us the data, you try hard here, like maybe we even give you a rating in that specific like tester SR or whatever. Okay. And you actually really, really try hard, but it doesn't really matter that much as solo queue does. But at least people are try-harding, and you test the systems at all level and get like nice data from it, right? And that allows for it. Like, of course, then if you do that reframing, do you have the same volume of people playing it, whatnot? But in essence, I'm a big fan of the ability to wide-scale test experimental cards, because the data you theoretically get from it is so much better, so much higher quality than the PTR patches.
Oh, for sure.
Totally is. Totally is. I want that. Like, part of me is like, you know what? Just make quick play PTR.
Yeah.
Like it's just, and again, I understand why it's not, but like part of me is like, how many people would notice? And all you quick play warriors out there, don't comment. Just don't. We get it. You play quick play, and that's okay. I play a ton of quick play when I'm drunk. All right. So next one, Joe, you put this one down here.
Yiska's got some healing to do apparently. So
you gotta do some healing.
I'm gonna give him the floor, and he's gonna heal us with his perfectly chiseled anime jawline.
It's okay. So first up, they are going to and that's the last I've heard. Like maybe someone turned around and just said, "Okay, guys, like maybe I want to try one more time." But from what I know, there are summer retirements that actually that me up, and we gotta endure those. And I hope all of this doesn't drag out, and we can all like have closure and say, "Okay, here's rock bottom, and now we can start building." And I just want to, on Monday, I'll just have an article outlining the reasons as to why we're likely over the hump. And a lot of the arguments will be reused that we had on Crouch, right? Like with delayed appreciation of the systems that we already have, with the things that are on the horizon, with other things. For instance, I will definitely bring up the argument of us now being much closer to the, like, no, so we can all agree, like, okay, that is what Overwatch is, right? Like, we have these numbers. That's the intention, and now we can much more honestly argue with each other how to improve it.
Okay.
And another thing is that I think a lot of people have realized the urgency that we're in. And from a content perspective, I have to think far back to a time where I think the content that our team's putting out, that the Overwatch League is putting out, and we're not perfect yet, but just like the shoulder content that we're getting is probably as good as it was in season 1. Would you agree?
No, unless I'm just missing something.
Like, for instance, Depay is getting in his bag, just sharing stuff. Boston Uprising has been delivering pretty novel concepts.
Yeah,
we
I
get
think so. I
these
think I'm okay with it.
Gameplay highlights from Action. They are being let in and are actually promoted on there's the thing that is being worked on together, and it's now uploaded on the Overwatch League channel.
Sure. I mean, we had that before, though.
The gameplay highlights? I mean, not promoted necessarily by Overwatch League.
I mean, I guess.
I think it's at least as good, if not better. Fair enough. Like, I think you could at least make the argument as such.
Yeah.
Fine.
I think we're just allowing more people to create and opening the gate slowly but surely to have creatives from all sources contribute to this thing. We get these rising rookie stories. I also think like what Reinforce is doing is good on the channel, and of course, like we got to be led to water, right? Like
sure.
It's not like the content that I immediately pick up on and want to see like this. And the same is like for instance, another piece is then with Sideshow and what's his name? Spice.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
That type of stuff. What else did we get? I think it's just like a lot of people now wanting to create Overwatch content. And I think another solution is people thought I was mega trolling when I said like, why don't we just aggressively patch the audience?
Great tweet, by the way. Great tweet.
But there is a literal or the metaphorical meaning behind this. Meaning, why don't we create engaging content that explains things so people can develop an appreciation for them? And get the telestrators out again. And make it in a fun way. Wrap it in a metaphor so people can recognize these patterns.
Yeah.
So go ahead and finish your thought, but I'm putting a pin there.
I think just in general, the clarity of rock bottom allows for a lot of, like, when everything's just slowly declining and you know the temperature is being raised on you, you don't really notice that much, or everyone's just like, yeah, I mean, it might be variants and we can do like little tweaks here and it will go better. No, we're currently at a point where we have the freedom given to us by the situation to do all kinds of stuff and see what, like, we almost have pre-Overwatch League level freedoms just assigned to us by virtue of this not working. So we got to figure it out. And I think to a degree, you also see that in the comments that are coming from the upper management, where it's like, we would be stupid if we wouldn't look at the format changes for next season. Stuff like that. We've never heard anything like that. Almost like an admission of guilt implicitly. This, like, we're getting change. There's change in the water. And if we can embrace it and mobilize the creatives, and everyone can, you know, like, that's the thing. If we get the opportunity and take ownership of our own cultural niche here, then this is the perfect moment. Never have we been theoretically then more free to do all kinds of fun stuff than now. And at the end, there is possibly the payoff of Overwatch 2. And it's not even about Overwatch 2, you know, like we create systems or like content types that are very engaging, and they might not do the numbers, but as soon as the casual audience for Overwatch 2 comes in and they see okay, there's this sideshow guy that's like hilarious and Brandon that's hilarious, and like these guys and Platchet and what's that? And these types of content niches that then suck you in, and we can like, this type of content is coming everywhere. This will convert people once again. And I think also Blizzard realizes that these that these funnels of casual player base to Overwatch League has to happen somehow. And that's the opportunity. It's not 100% that we're getting this, but it's like we are once again in a state where everything seems very malleable, and we have opportunities to do stuff. And also when we're done with this, we can almost be sure that everyone that's stuck around loves the game enough to be here. And I'm not saying necessarily that the retired people didn't, but like they are now on board with the formula that Overwatch is, at least for a while, unless they, of course, being kept around by contractual reasons or whatever. But yeah, I think in general, and I didn't blow my entire magazine here for Monday, but I think well done. I think this is an opportunity where we can say, when all this is said and done, please don't drag out I mean, it's a little selfish to say, please retire faster. I recognize that this is like,
get it over and done with, boys. Come on, let's go. We got healing to do.
But yeah, we got healing to do, and I think like healing occurs when like there is opportunity in tragedy, and I think we're there. I think it's time. I think everyone wants it too. I think everyone is fed up with being 100%.
Mad.
Yep.
And we all want good news. Those good news will be received in a different way.
The night is darkest before the dawn. And
we 100%.
We were / are at that dark point. Time for the sun to start rising. Time for the good things to start being, magnified. Bad things to go themselves. And despite our critical stances oftentimes on the show, like, we didn't retire.
No.
Not yet. I mean, not yet anyways. We didn't, at least. But yeah, I like that take. I'm on board with that take. I could probably go into some other topics on that, but I don't want to, because we do have matches to discuss. And I specifically want to go into the matches because we are in the May Madness tournament. We do have competitive open queue, which is coming. Jeff Kaplan had a developer update that highlighted a lot of it. And interesting enough, if you're a competitive open queue player, one really interesting I found from that is that it was the most popular game mode in Korea. Competitive open queue. I can't remember if you said the most. Yeah, was it the most popular game mode or the most popular arcade game mode?
I remember the distinction rank, right? Between after rank, that was the second most popular game mode just across the board. I believe that was the case.
Whereas in NA, it was no hero limits, right?
Mm-hmm.
Something.
Yeah, something like that. So yeah, interesting stuff. Definitely go give it a listen. But let's talk about this week's hero pools and that kind of stuff. And the first one we've got is May, Tracer, Orisa, and Moira are banned.
Okay.
May being, I think, a big one. Tracer
finally
being a big one. Orisa being an actual big one. And Moira being a pretty big one.
Yep.
Big ones. We got some big ones this week. Okay, Yiska, you were going to say what? Sorry, did I move on too fast?
I wanted to ask Joe if he thinks this is a dirty or a clean week.
I don't know. I think I think I made that distinction of where I said on that kind of theory on last week's or Monday show with Christopher. also where we, discovered this and we kind of yoinked it from him. I think it very much depends on the team, where the coaches' mindsets are, what kind of tool sets they have with the players, and what scrim bubbles they're in. I don't think it's just like easy or like, I think there are some that are more clear, but even with that, I think paradigms are starting to shift. I don't think anything's clear at the moment. I think that's where you start to see like those viruses, like he said, pop up where you have a composition that you maybe didn't expect, and it really starts to catch on, and that becomes like the clean break there. But yeah, I don't know if specific hero pools in general just give you clean or dirty. I think it's dependent on the team. This one definitely is a little weird. I think there are two obvious ways for me that you could go, and one of them feels like it's more of the trend, if that makes sense. From last week, we're trending more towards this dive archetype shift from these like Rhine slow comps. And I think the hero pool definitely supports that. But on the flip side, you can still play, Rhine Diva compositions that, a little bit slow, a little bit more brawly, and can bully those points really well. So I think it's going to be up to the team. I don't think it's going to go one way or the other, or there could just be a virus that pops up that just catches everybody, and you start to see teams switch last minute, and they underperform. But yeah, I don't think it's just based on the hero pool though.
Yeah, no, definitely is part of, like, I feel like there are almost no self-evident matters anymore, where it's like, if like illustrated simply by the way where we don't know for sure what people are going to run, for instance, in the May Madness tournament where there are no bans. We don't know, right? And that leads me once again to the topic of, have we not figured out the best comp in that regard that everyone should flock to as soon as it's possible? Or have teams actually learned to play to their styles, or have very different ways to think about the game, where they will always come up with diverging strategies over a longer period of time? And
say that second point again.
So, okay. There was a premise. Okay. There was no way that GOATS was actually the optimal Nash equilibrium point that could not be improved upon.
Sure.
If you practice forever, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, if that premise is accepted, and I think that's almost self-evident from game theory, from
stage 3. Well, I mean, just evidence.
Stage 3 as well, right? Though many people argue, they could have beaten Shanghai eventually, and as Brad rightly pointed out in the comments as well, Shock didn't actually play that much GOATS into Shanghai, and actually tried to counter that and failed at it. And it's kind of stuck as this comp being a GOATS beater. It's GOATS beater in perception, because the teams that either played GOATS against them weren't prepared to that point, or didn't actually play GOATS, and we just don't remember. Totally. But still, if that is the premise, then theoretically teams have a certain incentive, especially the bad ones, or primarily the bad ones, to always look for the actual best comp. Right? So
bad teams have an incentive to look for the best comp to kind of get ahead of things.
Yes,
is that what you're saying?
Even if we had established metas, right? Like, let's say we're stable, and we've now taught the teams how to innovate to a degree, and of course, some of the worst teams. I'm not sure if the innovation rate is really correlated with placement in the.
Let me pause you really fast though. Do you think Hero Pools has taught teams to innovate though?
To build comps, yeah, and what kind of things might work, and maybe gave them fundamentals of more. It's not even teams necessarily, but individual players. Like we've had players that are just come up with goats. That's their career up until season 2. Like think, maybe like O2, even though that's probably not fair because a lot of like the Toronto crowd after, right?
Yeah.
Because they probably were around as well, but like that's what they were known for, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I mean, okay, now that I think about it back, of course Ivy was also known for playing not Genji and whatnot. But I think
get what you're saying, though.
if we were in a stable meta, the assumption of should be that teams on the lower end, like a Boston, like a Houston Outlaws, like a Washington Justice, would be much more inclined to innovate, simply because they've been shown or have gone through the process of doing so.
Okay. I think I know where you're going.
Because they can afford to do so, because they're losing anyway.
Right.
They're not catching up on the meta comp.
So you're not saying that the ideal composition, the most optimal composition, is divorced from innovation.
Can you explain?
So the unknown perfect comp, right? We have goats right now.
Yeah.
What you're saying is that finding that perfect optimal comp isn't completely removed from the opportunity to innovate on what we already have.
No, but you also don't need the perfect comp. What you need is a comp better than goats.
Okay, well,
for your specific
poor messaging
for your specific configuration of your team.
Yeah.
Right? Like
sure. I know
if you're like let's say Chengdu, right?
Yeah.
Their comp was likely not a better comp than goats.
Sure.
But their goat, it was better than their goats, and it was better
than other people
because they had the pieces such as Jinmu.
Sure.
To then outpace all the lower ranked teams and many of the middle ranked teams, which allowed them then to get into play-ins. And I think having that demonstrated and having gone through the motions of innovation, or rather of adaptation.
Adaptation.
There we go.
We got there.
Would probably, if given the opportunity, not result in totally stable metas. And as we cycle bad teams to the bottom again, because they're like, it's like an up and down system where it's like, okay, Boston can now fully innovate. They're losing anything anyway. Either they find something or they don't. If they find something, they bubble up a little bit and someone else becomes the worst team. Oh, so you're now the worst team and you realize, I guess that's the opportunity to innovate once again, right? And it gives a nice circulation of better compositions, theoretically.
And that's where I have to go back and kind of re-ask the question, do you think that Hero Pools has kind of taught people to innovate? Because I would argue that it's kind of getting in the way of innovation, because you don't give them a constant like standard
this iteration
control
of
group.
Yes, the 1 week Hero Pools.
Sure,
yeah.
1 week Hero Pools.
Because somebody's going to go, well, just expend Hero Pools, which I think you would say is probably.
I mean, it's
there's a length of Hero Pools that is innovatable. 1 week just isn't that.
100%.
Okay, cool.
Yep, I would definitely agree with that. With where we are right now with 1 week Hero Pools, I think that actively gets in the way of innovation, because you're having to scramble to figure out what the best thing is. Now, there are teams that still find a way. Your Chengdus, your Houstons. I still think Toronto. I think New York in a weird way is a team that like is trying to find their way.
They're not playing the
they keep asking. So comp. In the morning, the players wake up and they write in the mirror, "Who are you?" And they're trying to find who they are, and they just keep putting in "Who are you?" And it's just
exactly.
They don't.
They keep trying.
I thought I was onto a Yiska. I thought I was onto a Yiskaism, and then I just didn't. I didn't have a sandwich and bread or something to make it stick. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, I don't know if hero pools are promoting innovation. I do think they're challenging how you think about the game. I would agree with that they're teaching like composition design and like quickly identifying what is good, maybe not optimal, but what is good on this patch, what is good on this patch. I think from hero pools, teams are going to be their teams and coaching staffs are going to be better at quickly identifying what's good based on 1 week hero pools. And, once we expand on, hopefully if we expand on, the hero pool, time frame, I think that's going to be a direct thing. But I think the teams that were already bought into the idea from last season that you should innovate if you can't play optimal or what's perceived to be optimal are already doing that. Yeah, I don't think hero pools has taught them to do that. I think they were already going to do that.
Yeah.
I think hero pools gets in the way of innovation, and I think it's a whole nother discussion.
It's like teaching people the patterns of when that happens. This might work in terms of compositions and archetypes is a valuable lesson. Where I don't like. That's a comment I very often see is like, I don't even think we would if we did the exact same thing in season 2 as in season 2 and season 1. And that's a very hard sell for a lot of people. I think we would have legitimately seen more innovation this season with
100%.
Then
without a doubt
reasons before.
Like you guys don't even get it. Like overall, I truly believe in my heart of hearts that this game would be in such a fantastic place. Maybe not with travel. Maybe I'm underselling travel here, right? Yeah. But having literally different regions, playing different things, which was evident from hero pools. If we get that in hero pools, we're definitely get that without hero pools, right?
Yeah.
We would be in such a sick place because I can tell you, teams were scrimming some wonky stuff beforehand, before hero pools we even talked about.
Yeah.
We were going to get this diversity. It might not have been week by week by week, but it would have been. I don't know where to go with it.
It went like this. Preseason was okay. We're playing 2 comms on every map type, depending on the specific map types. Wait, so what you're saying is you have like 4 archetypes you're playing, and within those archetypes, like 10 different compositions. Yeah, that's what's happening. Then next week, it's like, oh, someone found out Torb is nuts. Now everyone's just like mass gaming Torb.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
They find out on Thursday night or Friday.
Like that happened in the preseason, and then it's like, oh, actually, someone found out that this beats Torb here, and this beats Torb here, and this beats Torb here, and then everyone was like, oh, we're open again, and then it converged once again to this May McCree stuff.
Sure, I mean, you're always going to have that, though, and we have that with hero pools. We always have that like kind of singularity where it's like, oh, that's the thing. Okay, we're going to play that. The problem with hero pools is with where it is right now, with 1 week, you don't get the next step. A lot of people thought that like Somber Goats was the next step, or maybe people were subbing out Zarya, or not Zarya, but Diva for other heroes. Maybe it was Ashe. Some people were trying Ashe. Some people were trying Wrecking Ball instead of Reinhardt. Granted, that was maybe specific, but we never get to see the next step in terms of where this patch is, because we have hero pools just flipping the script every week. I think that's kind of robbing people of really defining their style and being able to showcase their. There's a word that comes from martial arts that like you kind of put your own personality, your own spin on things. There's a better word for it, but it completely escapes me at the moment. That's what we're robbed of with hero pools at the moment with what we have.
Sure.
We never get to see the next iteration. We don't get to see a very colorful style. Everything is just like this muddy shades of gray. And I totally agree with what Sideshow had said. I think it was yesterday, where Goats has like given us PTSD, where we're like, we can't do metas. Metas are just so bad.
Stop this binary thinking. It's like people actually think it's either 1 week hero pools or 1.5 years. And that's not what it is.
It's not true. It's historically not true.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's, I mean, to be fair, I do think that we are misremembering Dive. I think that dive was along around time, and a lot of the community did not
there
like
have
it.
been.
It wasn't goats bad. So I wouldn't just. I think goats is a good example, but Overwatch has had pockets and some pretty large pockets of stagnant metas. Totally. And you just talk about. I think there's one big problem, not a problem, but I think there's one big. I'm going to say problem, but no, I don't mean this as a problem. From what you said, Joe, about this idea of, we'll just call it identity within a meta. That you were talking about before, about teams being able to put their own spin on things. A lot of viewers who are not intimately familiar with Overwatch see hero pools and see the changes of week to week from of different heroes. They see that as a team's own variation or adaptation to being their own. Like, that's how that team is. They're mistaking that personality because Overwatch is a harder game to understand. There's like a surface crust that you get. You understand. Did they capture the point? Did they not? Did a bunch of red show up, or did a bunch of yellow show up on the kill feed? Like, that generally makes sense. Did he click heads? Did he not click heads? But there's a more nuanced version. There's like this really thick crust right below the, what is it? It's crust and it's mantle, right? Is it crust? And then there's mantle.
Let's just say it is.
Yeah. Then there's this like really thick mantle of trying to understand Overwatch beyond the crust. That is, it's dense. It's difficult to get through. And then towards the core, I know there's something else there. God, shut up.
Just give it. It doesn't matter.
I think in Overwatch's case, it's crust and then XQC, and that's also very dense to get through.
Okay, fair enough. Oh man. Anyways, yeah.
No. Keep with the point. I really enjoyed this discussion. I think we're getting somewhere.
And
we have the crust that's thick.
Yeah, so we have this thick crust, and then at you have the chewy, chocolatey center of a.
Okay, there we go.
At the end, right? So you've got this core of a game that I think Yiska more than anybody has been like outspoken about really loving the nuance, the fencing, right? Like we've all tried to watch fencing before, and it's incredibly intricate and beautiful when you break it down. But when you don't understand it, I'm like, that was a 2 second where the guy didn't know how to block. Like, what an idiot kind of thing, right? So, yeah.
I'll also let you in on a secret.
It's a bad analogy.
I don't understand it either, dude. But I feel that it's there, and I feel that a rotation is very different. I don't understand when the Zarya bubble timing happened in that fight, which made them win that.
Yeah. So the point I'm getting at is that we've mistaken this personality and diversity from hero pools as personality and identity for teams, players, and how the game is played. That's not.
I think I know. I'm not sure. Hero pool. You were mistaking the identity of hero pools.
Like hero pools have created a substitution for this.
Yes, I agree.
Nuanced personality, gameplay, driven game, and instead we force hero diversity and see it as teams creating an identity and innovating.
100%. I
what you're saying
completely
is,
agree.
Like when we used to have this like jawbreaker, and we had to lick through it to get to the gum, and it took a while, but the gum was kind of nice, and now people really just want like what are they called in Harry Potter? The the beans that have like different tastes. Where it's like very easy to chew, but you never know what you're gonna get. And if it's fart, they still enjoy that because it's something different.
Jelly beans do that in real life. So we'll just say jelly beans.
The Burton beans.
It's like-
I know.
You found
Everybody
the
knows
least
what you're talking
magical
about.
thing from the Harry Potter universe for that
It's not the
analogy.
chocolate frog that jumps and is
It's
anime.
literally like this thing that we actually have now.
Bertie Botts. Okay.
Bertie Botts, yeah.
Every flavored beans.
That is Hero Pools. Bertie Botts. Every flavored.
Anyways, I'm sorry. I didn't want this to turn into.
I think that was a really good point. That instead of giving the players and the teams, better drill equipment to get through the crust, like you said, we're just giving them really, really fancy pickaxes. We're just giving them really colorful pickaxes. It's like, wow, cool. I get a different pickaxe every week. I'm not getting through the crust all that far, but it's really cool that I get a new pickaxe every single week. This one's pink and this one's blue and this one's got sparkles on it. Isn't that sweet, guys? No, give me drill equipment so I can get to that chocolatey good center where everything evolves and we get to really see what Soul Dynasty is, where we get to see what New York actually wants to do with Who Are You. I think it was a beautiful point. Yeah. I think it was great. I loved it.
Well,
I liked the journey.
I feel
job.
no. I feel bad about talking because we've harped on Hero Pools a lot, and we're going to talk about Hero Pools every week.
Point though.
I mean, I hope people now understand slowly why we had to make these points in the past. Because what we're having now with people just like flipping off on Twitter and like everyone coming out and just saying, yeah. True. It's, that's kind of true. And that not being out and seeing the retirements coming, talking to these professionals, just like, dude, like I had to actually like just down 10 milligrams of caffeine tablets or whatever, and just I'm not sure if 10 milligrams is a lot or not. I have no measurement there, but like help myself to stay awake in order to be performing for my team, and that's not a normal thing, and that's retirement. And then you have someone like Brusson retire like.
It was kind of
in his first season as a rookie,
wasn't it?
Yeah.
So
there's a lot.
I think in hindsight, like I think to a point there should be vindication for us that like we weren't mistaken for this, but we shouldn't feel good about it because that stuff.
I feel great
right?
about it. I
feel
much
terrible
smarter
about
than
it.
all
I don't
you
want to be right.
idiots, you bunch of dumb people.
It's
Just
sort
kidding.
of like,
I don't feel that way.
like global warming. You see that stuff coming. Everyone's just like, yeah, dude, like I'm actually.
That's so good.
But why would I not preheat my car when I have to drive for 45 minutes? So it's warm when I get in.
That's a really good analogy. It's like global. It's like being right about global warming. It's like the world's ending, guys. Just so you know.
You feel bad for being right about
well
it.
done.
Okay, let's talk about this week's matches.
Yes. All right, we're there.
We're only 58 minutes in.
There we go.
So we're gonna spend a lot of time on these matches, as you can tell. Seoul versus Chengdu is where we're starting up. Let's get to the spreadsheet view here.
Yeah.
Seoul versus Chengdu. Seoul does not have a couple of barriers to hide behind this week. Aris is gone. There's a prevailing opinion right now about the Soul Dynasty, and it's that they are only good when they're able to execute on double shield. So 78%, 22% Soul Dynasty. Joe, are you gonna NYXL us on this here, or?
Let me lay out what I have to say first. So I agree. There is a prevailing narrative in the community that the Soul Dynasty are somehow one-trick ponies and they can only play double shields. They've completely forgotten how to play dive with, week 13. Week 14, they come in, they beat up on the Shanghai Dragons in a 5-game, barn burner in double shield. So somehow that means that they can only play that comp. That's the comp they're the best at, and everything else they don't know how to play. So if that's the case, and they don't know what they're doing in this hero pool, because again, I think these are very weird. May was a very much a big staple in these blitz comps. Tracer means that maybe dive is a little less strong. Orisa is a direct nerf to Soul. You can't play double shield then, unless you're trying to play Rhine Sigma. But is that something that you really want Jester to be on? Granted, Marvel's good at Sigma, but definitely throws a wrench into things. And Moira again removes a little bit of the strength from dive. I guess you could plug in Brig, but again, these are hypotheticals. So if this hero pool, let's say, is a dirty break for Soul, maybe we see a Chengdu, maybe you see a Chengdu close game.
Hashtag
I won't sell
close
you.
game on Twitter. Thanks.
I won't sell you on Chengdu winning. I'm past that point. I don't even agree with that narrative that Soul can only play double shield comps. I think this is going to be not close, right? Like, haha, I tricked you. Not Chengdu Bob. Soul's going to win this game. But I think I don't even know if you're going to see like an upgrade in their dive. I think this should be a lot closer to what we were supposed to see. I think week 13 was Echo throwing a wrench into this composition, and they got to that party way too late to actually be able to field something competitive. That's why you saw Prophet look all over the place. That's why you saw people filtering in one by one. That's not something pro teams do. This game will kind of aid in that narrative being put to rest that they're somehow like this double shield only, like they've forgotten how to play dive. No. They're going to beat Chengdu. They're probably going to do it with dive. And they're going to look convincing. Soul's going to win. Chengdu Bob is dead.
Okay. I want Soul to win because the alternative is
How are you really about to try and sell me on Chengdu? Really?
I don't know just how bad Soul gets. That's the question.
I mean, but this is Chengdu got
Are they actually
by
Dr.
London.
Jekyll and Mr. Hyde? And
I don't think they are.
I haven't asked around what's actually being played, and that kind of
tertiary information from like earlier this week. I think teams were starting with dive, some very interesting dive compositions, but that's kind of the archetype.
But with Echo,
there were some being thrown around with Echo. There were some with other heroes, but the archetype in general was dive.
Joe, I might do it.
I don't think
do it.
There's no way.
Are you
They
gonna
played London. They played London last week with
say
that.
Chengdu over Soul. Say Chengdu over Soul
don't do
wins.
it. That's
Yes,
dumb.
do it
You're dumb.
right now.
Don't say that.
Do it. Do it. Do it. Do it.
They lost to London last week with that comp.
I'll give you the applause if you do it. You'll get the applause. You're gonna get it.
Yo, peer pressure, dude.
Do it. Say Chengdu. Say Chengdu over Soul. Say it. Do it. Do it. Say it. Chengdu Hans. Chengdu over Soul.
Man, it's truly lost.
We got it. Chengdu over Soul. Yiska says, obviously, I'm going with Soul over Chengdu because I'm not a fucking idiot. And
I want everyone to understand that if this happens, you lost all ground to argue for 1 week hero pools. It's over.
Yeah,
it's
true.
Then
it's probably the
deep
worst
under
thing
the building
that could happen for 1 week hero pools.
Chuck, it's gone. If that happens, it's over. Nobody come to my face with that shit.
What's a German name that starts with CH?
CH. Christopher.
You're Chengdu Christopher.
Christopher. Yeah, very good. Yeah.
Chengdu Christopher.
Why does he get to have alliteration? I'm just Bob.
You're Chengdu Chuck.
Oh, okay.
I think Yiska just called you Chengdu Bob, and it just stuck.
No, yeah, because of Silent Bob, right?
He didn't. Well, yeah, because he did the Silent Bob thing. But
yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah.
Anyways. Okay, that was number one. I can't believe.
You better be there, Joe.
Imagine
You better be there, Joe.
I can't believe you picked
You better
Chengdu.
be there.
All right. Number 2, Shanghai Dragons versus London Spitfire. Shanghai favored 84-16.
Yeah, how can you not?
Okay.
This team's sick.
Thanks.
NYXL versus Hangzhou. 75% NYXL.
How are we saying that Seoul is Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde and not New York?
Because
did you go back and watch that New York game versus Charge? They're playing dumb stuff. Weird stuff.
I will tell you why.
Is it because they're trying?
It's because they're 8-3 with a plus 16 map differential despite switching regions. Like,
and they're also going to play arguably the
second worst team, if not the worst team. Yeah, arguably one of the worst. Yeah. So if that narrative is supposed to hold up, you would imagine that this is going to be another.
If they go 8-4, I think that you're right. Because they're now at a 25% lose ratio, right? Where it's like, okay, that's a big thing. Right now, with hero pools every week, with COVID, with changing regions, like at the very least you can say like NYXL is very good. They're just not very good at change. But they're settled now. And if they can't adapt to hero pools after a certain amount of time, then yeah, you're right. That's fine. Be Jekyll and Hyde. I don't care. But 8-4, that's my break point.
Totally. And you have to give them credit. You know, they're still a good team. I believe they're 8-3. Correct me if I'm wrong.
They are
going into this match.
Plus 16 map differential.
Totally. Still a, top 5 team. 100%.
Significantly higher than, so you've got Philadelphia, Shanghai, San Francisco, and New York excel at 16 or higher. The next highest is 8 plus 8 map differential or higher.
Yeah.
So that's a lot.
It is. They did kind of beat up on people in Atlantic.
To be fair, they played
regardless.
Then so did Philly.
A lot of people played these Atlantic teams and still have dropped maps. So
Philly,
we have to give them credit where credit's due. 100%. I agree. If we're gonna go the travel route, the COVID, the hero pools not adapting, which I don't see just yet, because they did come into I think their first week in April. It looked very, very strong. It's just last week. And this narrative from weeks previous towards the beginning of the season where they're like, okay, let's put Who Are You in. Okay, like I could see that. I could see early before hero pools putting Who Are You in on May where it doesn't look great and you're just trying to bring him into the system. You're working him within the system. Okay, I got it. That makes sense. We're working him into the system in week 14 now. If he's not bought in by week 14, I don't know if he's ever going to be bought in. So what are we doing? Is it we're still having him bought in? Are we sandbagging? Are we trying stuff out? Are we playing this long game that we keep propagating with NYXL, even though most things have changed about this team? I don't know.
If Christoph's interview with us taught us anything, this might just be a weighted coin that Who Are You slipped into into the coach's quarter when they flip for who should start.
It's possible, right? Now taking what Christopher said as well, NYXL played one game last week. Chad, correct me if I'm wrong. From what I'm seeing, they played one game. They lost to Charge. Pretty hard.
Mm-hmm.
Does that affect you enough in terms of swaying your opinion, knowing just how much directly from a coach's mouth, that like losing a game can like put you in like a really, really toxic mental state? Does that sway you with New York Spark? With what we saw last week? It doesn't. It sways me. It doesn't sway me enough to kind of change the match, right? I think this is going to be surprisingly close. And I think I still think New York wins it. It's tough for me to take that away from them. I think just on paper they're a better team, right?
Mm-hmm.
Chances are though that this team is in a very dark place. The stress probably is getting to them.
Mm-hmm.
Or the narrative continues. They don't try their hardest. They're playing Dive on King's Row. Saw that pop up in chat. They're playing Genji Doomfist.
Mm-hmm.
They're playing Who Are You on May. They're trying stuff. If that's the case, okay, that's the evidence that should support the narrative. If that's not the case, they're playing these standard compositions. They're not, they're not doing all this wonky, crazy stuff, and they're still losing. Is that not a better fit for the title of like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde? I would say so. I think, yes, we haven't seen a ton of games from Seoul. We have seen them all over the place. I think they're definitely a candidate, but New York went from beating up on Atlantic teams, losing to Philly, which that's no shame, to going to Asia, doing well in Asia, and then is this the start of a trend? Is this just a hero pool thing? Is this just a weak thing? I don't know. It's very difficult to say with this team. Granted, it's also very difficult to say in hero pools. So
yeah. I agree that, like, I think we can all agree, like, NYXL should be the favorite here.
They should.
To what degree? Like, I definitely also add some volatility here. Think they're prone to also experiment further or not take it 100% if that theory is indeed correct against the Spark. So it might
this would be the perfect time to do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're gonna play Genshi Doomfist on King's Row, now's a chance. Pull out some Wrecking Ball, pull out some Ash. Symmetra's open. There should be no way that NYXL loses this. I agree, but with the information that we got from Christopher and how dreadfully a loss can really impact you, I worry that this is going to be closer, and that's going to swing people's kind of thoughts one way or the other.
Yeah,
that's where I get kind of ahead of the curve there. But regardless, I think we'd all be in consideration that NYXL is probably going to win this. Just a varying degree of percentages there.
Okay, so while John is literally in chat on the toilet, shit posting.
Bro, I am like talking to my phone with points. I'm like, I disagree with this. And
okay.
So here's the thing I'm going to say.
Okay.
I literally didn't even wipe. I just came straight here because I needed to get this out.
I'm so sorry. Your poor chair.
Oh, here we go.
That's a kicked yikes, eh?
Play the fifth.
Keep going.
Just a wipe. You can call me wipeless tripod or something. I don't know. We get Chengdu Joe. Okay. Just guys, I'm joking. It's for the all right. Anyways, or is it?
So what are we disagreeing? What are we butting heads on?
I'm sick of voting against NYXL losing for a justification that's they're inconsistent. Because they are a better team.
Yeah, but nobody's saying that they're going to lose.
Isn't that what you're saying?
No.
You just wanted me to call them Mr. Hyde.
No. I'm not saying either way. I just don't think that we have really a good place to stand on with this whole narrative that, they're still sandbagging, they're playing the long game. They're really not taking this all that seriously.
No, they're just inconsistent.
I don't buy that either. I could agree with that. But there's too many, all of these narratives are popping up. And if the narrative that they're not trying, they're playing for this long game, they're trying out all these different compositions to try and get ahead of the curve, even though, the coaching staff's changed and whatever. This would be the best opportunity for that to happen because you're playing against the second worst team in Asia. Like this should be a wash either way. It doesn't matter what you play. You should be able to beat them.
Yeah.
So if we see that will directly support that. If we don't, what do we say then? I think everybody on the panel, correct me if I'm wrong, won't speak for everybody, will say that NYXL will beat the Spark. It's just a varying degree of how close it's going to be. I think it's going to be closer than people expect. I'm looking at like 3-1.
It's one of your deceptively close 3-1s, isn't it?
Yeah, I would say.
Yeah, great. Neat. I've never met have we ever... Is there ever a game that was a 3-1 that wasn't close, or you couldn't make the argument wasn't close?
Probably. Because
I don't know that Charge New York last week was all that close.
I just feel like every time we go 3-1,
it's more of a
just tees us
feeling
up
rather
for
than-
next week to be able to like say like, yeah, it was closer than it needed to be. And like you know what I'm saying? When like people are like, a bad team takes a map off of somebody and they're like, well, it was deceptively close. They played really well. You know?
I mean, yeah, you drop them, you lose a map to Justice. That's pretty bad. Right? I mean, Justice is a pretty bad team. New York's a pretty good team.
I don't want to talk about this right now.
Okay.
I don't want to talk about this.
Can we here's the power play.
Uh-huh. Do we really want to talk about the next game?
Yeah, not even acknowledge that Chengdu has a chance against Charge. That's the play, Joe.
Oh yeah, definitely don't have a chance.
Really? After them actually not like a lot of games not going in Charge's way against or maps or
in terms of like the head-to-head?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think Chengdu is like big out of this league. I think they just are out. They've checked out. They're not here anymore.
Really?
Yeah. Wait, what? You're gonna say that they can beat the Seoul Dynasty, but they can't beat the Charge?
Thoroughly beat the China of this kid. Jesus Christ!
And somehow now it's into you. Like the we've beat the Holy Ghost out of me, and it's now entered your body somehow. Explain to me. And also, why are we jumping to Sunday? But
we're just gonna do Asia first, I guess. Whatever.
Okay.
I think they have a chance against Charge again. I'm not sure if that Charge themselves are that consistent.
I mean, I could be sympathetic towards that, but regardless of consistency, you think they lose to Chengdu?
Chengdu's
where they're at right now? Oh, shit.
What's going on?
Oh my god.
No, Chengdu, like they charged up the dummy fake energy.
Oh yeah.
And they're about to release it on this week. No, but
they're gonna empty their magazine.
In all seriousness, of course, like once again, 65 Charge.
Okay.
But that matchup has me feel away, and the consistency of the Charge, especially now that their play is short. I wonder.
Just coming off of a win versus NYXL. Granted, I guess you could spin that like, oh well, NYXL weren't trying, or they're
no. Like that's
no, it's not NYXL weren't trying. Is that they're about to start trying.
Ah, okay, fair enough.
It's different.
My bad. But you're taking a team that went 2-0 last week into this week, and you say they lose against arguably one of the worst teams in PAC.
I mean, based on prior history and the momentum really not meaning that much anymore, because most of the momentum coming from Europool energy, if you want.
Sure. Like if we agree that Chengdu can't play double shield and that's one of their better comps, that's a knock to them. I think Charge has shown a pretty, solid performance across a number of archetypes, not necessarily consistent performance in general, but they've done well in double shield. They've done well in dive. They actually, I feel like they prefer dive. They seem to invest a lot into Nero's Far in particular. Again, Chengdu has gone head to head with, but yeah, like
no,
what?
It's gonna be a close 3-1.
Okay, 3-1. Nice, great input.
There we go.
3-1.
Great. There we go.
No, of course.
And it actually is going to be a 3-0
this. Guangzhou's going to 3-0 this.
Okay, interesting.
Done.
We'll see.
See how hard that is to do, chat? It's not. It's not. Like, here's the thing. I think we finally, we finally reined Joe in on his Chengdu bias. Like, this feels good. He's coming in. He's just coming.
I'd like to. Here's a peek behind the curtain.
We're not done, though. We're not done.
No.
So we finally, it's like I've got like these two beautiful baby boys, right? And one scampers off. Chengdu Bob scampers off. I'm like, no, Chengdu Bob, come back. And then there goes Chengdu Christopher in the other direction. And I'm like, well, no. So I get, finally get Chengdu Bob back. And then I've got Chengdu Christoph over here running away, try to go get him. And I just don't know. At the, like,
what we're doing is basically we get Joe a pet, which is the Chengdu Hunters. Then it goes back to a farm and we tell him a nice story. And then on Sunday, we have Rabbit. But we also tell him that this is his rabbit while he takes the first bite. That's basically what we're doing here. Chengdu is going to go 1-1 this week.
I'd like.
He's liking it.
This feels like such. No.
I'm
I
giving
don't.
him hope.
No. They don't go 1-1. And even if they did, I don't think that would really sway my opinion on them.
All right, let's make the bet. Let's make the bet.
You want another week of?
No, I'm not. No more bets for me. I'm batted out. God, I really was tired of that picture by the end of it. Betting with Chengdu, I'm very aware of, and is a bad bet because it's gamble. Like there's no winning or losing.
Chad, this man is a coward.
That's fine. You're not going to peer pressure me. I'm not as easily swayed.
See?
All right.
This man is never going to give me another chance to become a lord.
You know what, Joe?
You gotta give me some good bets.
Joe, you know what?
These are just gambles.
Joe,
you could easily lose that.
Do you know what?
What?
You're being
we need to
such
change
a
the face.
bummer.
Not wrong. When Katie's right, she's right.
I'd love to be able to try and spin something up for Chengdu. They just don't give me any ammunition. What do you say? What do you say about this team? In metas that they're supposed to do good, they do bad. In metas that you kind of hope they find a way to find their identity and do some wonky, crazy stuff, that China tends to do, they don't. What do I do with this team? I'd love to be able to spin it. You know me. Everybody knows me. Chengdu Bob's a meme for a reason. What do I do with this?
So well. Oh my God, he's so thoroughly broken. Jesus Christ.
If you want Chengdu Bob back, everybody needs to go put 2-0 Chengdu week. We need week 15 Chengdu to go 2-0, and then Chengdu Bob can return. Till then, I ain't got nothing. I'd love to spin you some stuff, but
all right.
I don't see it.
We got one more match, and then we've got 6 more matches.
Yeah.
All right. Last but not least, for Asia, the third week of the Asia seeding weekend is going to be sorry, I want to get the timestamp. Hangzhou Spark versus London Spitfire. This one's kind of interesting.
Toilet bowl.
Yeah,
58% London. Thoughts?
Agreed.
I could see it. Yeah. I'm still not sure exactly where London sits within this. We've only seen them a 1 week back, so I'm not like super confident, but I'm also confident that Spark's pretty bad. So my head tells me London should be favored here.
Was he pleased? Says I hope they both lose.
Yeah, there's a couple games this week that I just hope both teams lose.
Oh.
Vancouver. Well,
yeah.
Florida Justice. Can you just both lose?
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyways, anything else in that one? Are you guys good?
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, we're already
Also,
in an
there's
hour and 23
an approximately
minutes. Can you believe it?
0% chance I will predict Chengdu in my preview piece. Over
Yeah,
Seoul.
exactly. Yeah. You absolute debate king.
But either way, I will spin it.
Oh yeah, okay. You the apprentice has learned well. Well done. You've learned to hedge your bets.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's
Fair
see
enough.
how I feel about that on Friday. We'll see. I'll get some.
Here's one.
Get some information.
Here's one.
Yeah.
Let's go to the North America seeding.
Uh-huh.
And match number 1 on Saturday is going to be the Vancouver Titans versus the
I'm
Houston
proud of you.
Outlaws.
Odds makers, I'm proud of you. You could have easily kept the ELO algorithm that was built up by Vancouver Titans and just kept that in, and it would have been like a 60-40 game.
Is Houston one of the teams that can be beaten by a shattered contenders roster?
No. I think this is a meta that Houston's going to do very well in.
Yeah.
Or at least has the potential to. Like there's two colors in my mind, and they picked the right one. Or the meta could be the right one, and they do very well within that.
Dude, just like from a narrative point of view, I feel like Houston would be the team to lose first against them.
Call me crazy. Call me crazy.
It's just, the storytelling, right, John? Do you feel that in the air? Like Dream, like going hard on the Twitter, or
better at any position,
getting a little bit of clapback from Super, like on the Spice, and then they are the first people coming losing against Vancouver, and it's just like everyone in the Overwatch League coming over the top and just dunking on Dream. I feel like that's the type of energy the universe is emitting right now, but I don't think logically that there's any basis to this why this should happen. But the energy, Joe, we're being very receptive to the resonance.
I need some Reiki to get this energy off of me.
I'm going to say this. If I had to place a bet on an upset to happen this week, this is the one.
Really?
Yep. This is the one. I mean, Justice aren't beating Mayhem. Boston isn't beating...
Sure. I guess we have to define what's an upset then. Yeah.
Boston isn't beating Gladiators. I don't know. I mean, no, Atlanta isn't beating Shock. I don't know if Fuel beating Paris or Paris beating Fuel is an upset. Titans aren't beating Philly.
Yeah.
And
the only other thing is Seoul Chengdu, right?
Or Toronto Valiant.
There's no upset in there, I don't think.
You don't think?
No.
I think there's potential.
I mean, minorly upset.
No, I'm saying they're even.
Papa Tongues.
Oh, you think they're even?
After last week? Yeah.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Okay. I would say that 1 week of performance shouldn't jump you that high, but
I mean,
I think we are in agreement there, though.
But that's not really an upset. That's like
I feel like that's an upset. Okay. I feel like it's a big upset.
Well, I mean, no, it's not a big upset. No way. It's It's not a what happened. If there's a what happened this week, it's this match. It's Vancouver Titans getting their first win in the Overwatch League against the Houston.
I mean, I guess if we're arguing what's the biggest one, then yeah, I could agree with that. I just don't think it's gonna happen. I don't see the energy. I don't feel the energy. My Reiki stones have not been fully charged.
All right. Anyways,
I'm just have exactly one win in the Overwatch League.
It's true.
Remember?
That is true. I feel like there are very clear explanations on why that happened. But
true. Sure.
Can't take that away from you.
Yeah. I mean, this is a 70-30, 75-30, 25.
Yeah.
Still for Houston.
Yeah.
And yeah.
That's fine.
From a gameplay point of view, there's no reason to.
From a gameplay, yeah. But it's just like the energy, Yiska.
Yeah.
Just the energy. You can just feel it. You can't kicked Oracle that right now?
Imagine not having developed the sense for that energy while watching.
While simultaneously preaching about Chengdu for the past year.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I am a lord. That's correct.
Amazing. Anyways, Mayhem versus Justice. Anything good here?
No, not in terms of the teams. Not in terms of narrative. No, there's no energy here.
Same with Gladiators Boston, right?
There shouldn't be. There certainly shouldn't be.
Nah, dude. Nah.
All right, so let's go.
Let me backtrack.
Come on.
This would be the biggest upset.
Yes.
This would be the
If
biggest.
it happened, yes.
Boston versus anybody is the biggest upset right
Yes.
now. Come on.
The energy here, though, I would agree.
There's no energy here.
Well, maybe again, I can't read it.
There's
maybe-
no energy and there's no hope.
No energy. Okay,
It's true.
zero energy. All right, never mind.
Yeah.
Thought I could get him drat chat.
I'm typing in chat on the podcast. All right. So here's an interesting one. This could be a good one. Shock versus Atlanta Reign. Christopher established that the Shock are the best team in the league because they haven't been beaten by the Fusion, basically. So, thoughts is this? I mean, we've got a few things going on here, right? Like this is not let's just look at some May standings. Let's look post hero pool standings for a second. Post hero pools, the Shock are 6-2. The Atlanta Reign are 4-3. But the map win percentage for the Shock is only 16 points above the Atlanta Reign. And I can't exactly say that the Shock have had the toughest opponents. Like how often have they played? How often have the Shock played?
Valiant 3 times, right?
And then they lost to Valiant at least once. Yeah.
So looking at this here, they lost to Gladiators and Valiant. That's who they lost to. Otherwise, they played Fuel, Gladiators again, they 3-0'd them. Fuel again, they 3-2'd them. 3-0'd the Valiant again, 3-0'd the Outlaws, and 3-1 the Defiant.
Yeah. That's actually a comically easy schedule, especially if you take the context of where these teams were at the time.
Sure.
In mind. Like, yeah.
So there's... I'm not, whereas the Atlanta Reign, let's take a look at the Atlanta Reign. The Atlanta Reign on the other side, they lost to the Fusion. They lost to the Fusion again. And then they lost to the Valiant in 5. And they lost to the Eternal.
Yeah.
In week 2, where they a Eternal with teeth with XC. Per hero pools.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying I don't fundamentally think that the Shock are a worse team than the Atlanta Reign. But the Shock are a challenging team for me to place right now. Like, they have really good spots. I have no idea. So, I have no idea what like the emotional side of the Shock are at right now. They lost Sinatra. There's a lot of animosity, I think, around just the Shock in general. I don't know. Like, I don't think it's 78-22 in favor of Shock.
Definitely not that high. I think you have to favor Shock.
I think
what we're coming to is that we don't know exactly how big that delta really should be at this point.
I don't know how.
Atlanta's a tough team to read. This is not the Shock from last year. The Shock are very mortal for their own decisions or not regarding hero pools and Sinatra. You know, that's going to make being the top team incredibly difficult, especially over a long period of time. So I don't fault them for that. It's really not their fault necessarily. I guess it depends on exactly, you know, who you put the blame on there, or what you put the blame on. But yeah, I think you have to still say that Shock is probably the favorite here. And again, like 3-1 Andy me, but this might be closer, not necessarily because Atlanta's good, but because Shock has been more inconsistent than we feel comfortable with. They're not the team of last year. They're really not. They have a very good base. They're still a good team, but they're not like this impervious Titan that you have to like beat immediately early to try and get wins off them. This is a team that can lose games. And Atlanta is quite all over the place. I don't think this is a hero pool for them, though.
That's fair. Yeah, that is a good point.
This feels like a dirty hero pool for Atlanta.
Dirty,
I think they're
filthy.
a team that wants to play, just the worst. Like, somebody get the dove.
I'd say 70-30, Eric.
Yeah, I'd say.
65-35 feels a little tight.
Yeah. I don't think I'd go in any match in hero pools. I don't think I'd go over 70-30 either way. But this one, yeah, I think this is like it should be very clearly the shock, but I do hold reservations on if this is going to be messy. It really depends on which teams show up. Also, again, a point that I'm seeing a lot in chat is like, where's Erster? Why aren't we seeing Erster? Why is the Atlanta roster kind of doing some? It's doing some weird shuffling around that I'm not keen on. I don't think this hero pool is going to favor them all that much, but they might be able to kind of influence their style, their color. They might be able to play slower compositions.
Yep.
And kind of force that. So we'll see. But yeah, I'd say Shock wins this for sure.
We gotta go a little bit faster here. We've got 3 more matches. I don't think that they're nearly as this first one kind of is. Dallas Fuel versus Paris Eternal.
Yeah, I think this is gonna be a banger.
Yeah,
I think it's gonna be another very fun one.
Yeah.
Dallas Philly, I think we were spot on saying that was going to be a very fun match. I think this one's going to be very fun as well.
I agree.
I can't see, like, what kind of a composition would you put Dallas on? Just like, where would they gravitate towards?
I think ideally, like if I had to build, like if I had to pick a meta for them, it would have been last week's meta. But because Tracer's banned, we have to move Decay onto something like an Echo, something like a Doomfist or a Sombra. Maybe you could put Doha on Doomfist and put Decay on Sombra.
That's getting hard there, right? That's exactly where I'm stuck. It's like if they go to dive, what's the play?
I think there are plays. But are those plays better than Paris's plays, if that makes sense, right? Like in that same sense, if we're going to put this team in a vacuum and say, okay, you only get to play dive here with these hero pools, what do you play? I like Dallas on a lot of different comps. Paris, on the other hand, because we don't have Xe, we can't do like double hit scan things.
Mm-hmm.
What's our opinion on Nico's Echo? Did they even play Echo? Why can't I'm completely drawing a blank on that.
Same.
I know his Doomfist is good, right? We have seen some great showings with his Doomfist, so I like that. I like putting Soon on, Sombra for the most part. Like I don't hate that. I don't think it's like the worst in the league. It's not bad. Mm-hmm. I think this one is, again, call me a 3-1 Andy, but this one's close, and I think it's going to be very fun. Like it's tough to really grab onto anything there. But
I love how
if the hero pools fit.
Like sometimes you look for chat to see if like you miss something obvious and you can say something obvious, and there's literally not a single agreeing statement about.
Okay, I'm glad though. Okay, so it's not just me.
Yeah,
there you go.
Nobody knows. So chat, you don't know. Maybe you do.
That's fine. So I'm sure somebody's right in there, but
one of you probably right.
Probably. Odds are. But Dallas Paris, I think, is going to be a banger. It's going to be another good week in what looks to be kind of cut and dry for the most part. Like this week in general, we'll probably get an upset wherever that is. I don't know.
I already told you.
It's just the nature of hero pools. That's true. You did. So this one's going to be one that you're going to want to tune into. It's going to be fun as long as we get dive. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
All right. Fair enough. Last one. Promise it's the last one. Valiant versus Defiant. Any world in which the Defiant have found,
I think they've improved
some foothold.
I think this one has potential to be another good match. I think if you're of the school that thinks that Toronto has improved from what they showed against the Shock, which could be, column A, column B. It could be shock, underperforming, could be shock, or defiant, overperforming. It's tough to exactly pull exactly why.
I'm sorry, I need to interrupt you. We skipped a match.
Okay.
And Chad is freaking out about it. Philadelphia Fusion versus the Vancouver Titans.
Chips of place. They beat up on Vancouver.
Yes.
Next.
Okay. You happy, chat? We did it. All right. Now back to an actual real Overwatch
Decent
League
match. Actually a good match. Or potential to be a good match.
You're welcome.
I think Toronto has improved. Chips is going to play, guys. You heard it, Chips Christopher said so. He's going to be playing.
In the after show, yeah.
Yep. Yeah. He definitely said he's on record twice now saying that Chips is going to play. So be there or be square.
Million bajillion subs.
Yep.
To XQC.
I still don't know what that bet is. Like, what is?
And Chips has said basically like if I don't play next match, I'm giving.
Oh, okay.
XQC
a million subs.
A million bajillion subs. Gotcha.
Which in effect is really like giving my millionaire hairdresser $10 as a tip.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a
drop in the bucket.
Meme.
Drop in the bucket. I think Toronto has improved. I think Valiant still wins, but I think we're going to start to see a narrative switch with Toronto, and I do have to put that on Cruz, like Christopher had mentioned on Monday. I think it's going to be a big one.
That's fair. I didn't factor into Cruz on that one, but we'll have to see. Too close to call.
Good one. We have two like clear good matches, hopefully.
Yeah. All right, chat. Did you have fun today? Hope you did. Thanks so much for everybody who hung out. Over 100 viewers today. Appreciate you a ton. Yes, smile. Yes, yep, yes, smile. They all had fun today. Yiska can sleep tonight. That's good. He goes, before the show, he goes, I just hope that people have fun. Is exactly what he says.
And I'm very tired, so I'm sleeping quickly.
I mean, we're relatively close. Like, we're getting really close. All right. Jeez, let's get out of here. New patrons. Yiska, what do we got?
We got Refined Bean. This. Yeah, we knew this. We talked about this. Long time follower of the show. By the way, you gotta slip in my DMs about that thing you wanted to talk about like 2 months ago, and then we never did. So, if you still need my input somewhere, contact me. That's by the way the service, like free esports consultancy. If you
is that a
tier 3 sub?
For a patron producer is esports consultancy with Yiska.
Yeah.
Yiska only.
I'll also pull the silly mask off and be all serious. Might get a tie for you. And thank you for upping a pledge. We appreciate it.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. If you are watching the show and you want to support the show, Patreon is a great way to do that. Go to patreon.com/tacticalcrouch. And a big thank you to our patron producers. Battlecrab, Pin, Lolshin, Charlie L, Audio Compass, Pork Chop, Sammy, Kosh67, Coochie Kopi, Shara, Picasso, Nathan, Your Misery, Hunter Tane, and Refined Bean. I could say that twice. So I could go all day on that one. Easy. But thank you all so much for your incredible support of the show. Another great way to support the show is to subscribe right here. It's not too late. If you subscribe right now, we'll thank you before the show ends, including Chopped Cheese, Death by Sexy, and Minimum W. Thank you so much for the subs. It's another really great way to support the show. And we got brand new channel emotes to do that. So on the channel for our subs. So thank you to everybody who has subbed here. The other really great way to support the show is just to tune into any of our live shows. We're trying to get partner right now. We're at 100 viewers, which is over 75, which means that we're one step closer to partner. We just got to keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it. So that's a great way to do it. Or leave a 5-star iTunes review. That's a free way. And then, that's a free way. Free way to do it. Go to leave a 5-star iTunes review on iTunes, and we'll thank you for it. Woo! All right, let's let's get out of here. Joe, shout outs for the week. Where can people find you?
As always, you can find me on all the socials at Volamel. That's Volamel. This week should be coming up within the next couple days. Going to be writing or having a piece published about one of my early favorite teams, I'd say. A team that I'm definitely excited to see excel in Valorant. So stay tuned for that. And we're diving deep into what Overwatch 2 could mean for the competitive side of things. And Overwatch in general. We're going to be revisiting an old favorite of mine in terms of that. And then I think we're doing NYXL juice. We're not juice, but looking at the difference between last year's NYXL and the year's previous NYXL and this new iteration of NYXL, which is very, very different. And we're going to be painting that picture. So yeah.
Sweet. Yiska, shout outs for the week. Where can people find you?
As always, on GG Recon, just put out a piece about hero pools and the difference between a fit system and a good system, and an unfit system and a bad system, just to lay the groundworks. And then tomorrow I'm going to talk about the different suggestions that have been come up with and evaluate them based on the stress levels and the fitness and goodness of it. And also give you my 2 cents what we could be doing for the next year, because this year's like the everything's in motion, right? It's really hard to make big sustainable changes now, but something that should be looked at. And I'll have that up tomorrow.
Sweet. As for me, you can find me everywhere at KickedTripod, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube. That's where the shows are posted as well. I'll start streaming on here if and when we get partner. But until then, we want to work to that. So that's kind of our goal. That's what we're shooting for, trying to get the channel partner. We'll get some extra emotes in here. We finally get like encoding options. Because like we had a couple of people have to leave because we're streaming at 1080p and they can't handle the bandwidth on their kind of crappy internet, and those encoding options help a ton too. So yeah, we're gonna be doing that. Audio only works if you're on mobile. So yeah, it's that's what we're kind of working towards, and so that's where you can find me. I can't wait to get back to streaming though. Thanks a ton for being here today, guys. Hope you had a ton of fun. We're going to be back with a post show until we drop below 75 viewers, basically. So we'll be back, chat with you guys, answer some questions. Joe always does a little Overwatch League Q&A. So yeah, we will be right back, guys. Thanks again for watching. See you Monday for our recap episode of the 3rd week of whatever, May Madness. May Madness, that's what it is. That's what it's called. See you guys next time.